Okay, morning everybody. Sorry for that technical fault at the start. So today's session is about the future of travel distribution. By way of introduction, my name's Duncan Horton. I'm the Chief Executive of Jacobs Media Group. We're a B2B media organisation in Europe, servicing and reporting on travel trends. So by way of introduction, I want to thank our panel for joining us, and we'll go around and I'll allow everybody to introduce themselves. They'll say their role, their name, their company and their position in the market. So I'll start with Baddy, if that's okay.
Sure. Hello?
Yeah, we can hear.
Okay. Hi everyone, good morning. Thank you for joining us for today's panel. My name is Baddy Lee. I'm from TripAdvisor Experiences. I oversee the Experiences APAC supply team. I just moved from San Francisco, our headquarters of Viator, to Singapore a couple months ago. So very excited to be here today.
Welcome, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi everybody, my name is Tim Hughes, an Australian living in Bangkok, working for Agoda, large accommodation online booking engine owned by the Booking Holdings Group. I do corporate development, which means I look out for investments and M&A work for Agoda.
Hi everybody, my name is Demi Kavaratzis. I'm from Expedia Group. Essentially my role, Director of Partner Marketing. I make sure that all our partners know the benefits of our platform and how to really leverage our platform whilst they're in their platform.
Great, thanks, Demi.
Good morning. So my name's Craig Hewett. I'm one of the co-founders of Wego.com. We're a travel meta search, fastly moving into the marketplace environment. Our key markets are Southeast Asia and very much Middle East, and our business is very much flipping into a mobile-first business.
Great, thank you, Craig.
Hello, my name is Laura. I work for Google and I'm in charge of our hotel search business here in APAC.
Great, thank you everybody and welcome. Thanks for taking the time. So first topic we're going to look at is, as our customers' booking lead times reduce and become more mobile focused, sort of what consumer experiences or customer experiences do we need to create, and what opportunities or challenges does it face with our partners as the booking lead times become reduced? If I could offer that up to Tim to start.
Thanks, Duncan. Look, I think it's a golden age to be a travel consumer. You know, it's absolutely amazing. The things you can find to do on your phone, whether it's booking a walking tour in Berlin with TripAdvisor, or getting a hotel and checking in within 20 minutes with us or Expedia or whatever. It's an absolute golden age to be a traveller. But it's also a challenging time because you type in hotels in Bangkok or you type in tours in Berlin and you get this just incredibly, almost hard to curate as a consumer list. So I think one of the biggest things we've got to work on is fixing recommendations. Right. We've got a lot of work to do to figure out how to take all this information, all this data, all this content, and target it towards a consumer. And sometimes the answer is, we'll just personalize it. But that's hard because there are different versions of each consumer. Like me as a traveller, there's Tim the solo traveller, Tim the business traveller, Tim the family traveller, Tim the with his mates. There's different versions of me doing different things on trips. So it's a golden age, but it's an age in which the recommendation part needs a lot of work. The curation of the content part needs a lot of work, and trying to figure out the different elements of personalisation need a lot of work. But it's a good time to be a traveller.
And Demi, I guess with your partners, you've got to deliver solutions as Expedia for your partners to combat that sort of shorter lead time, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I completely agree with Tim. Travel is complex. I think if I get a show of hands in the audience, and if everybody can put up their hand saying who agrees that travel is complex, I think I'm going to have majority of the room say travel is complex. It's complex for the customer that Tim mentioned, but it's also complex for our suppliers, how to actually get the reach that they want, get the global reach that they want. For Expedia, that's what we're all about, making sure that a little hotel sitting in Singapore, they're able to get that Australian customer or get that American customer. For us, it's all about providing them that distribution or that reach. And through our scaled platform, we're able to do that. I want to actually talk about a little bit in regards to the customer. For us, I completely agree with everybody in the room. Travel is complex, but for us, it's about simplifying the entire trip journey. We have spent a lot of time and a lot of our efforts to build what we call an ultra customer-centric app. Not only that this app helps our customers find what they're looking for and compare prices if it's flights or look for that perfect hotel, but it also the app actually helps you whilst you're in trip. So for us, it's helping our customers whilst they're searching and they're trying to find that perfect holiday, but also whilst they're in trip. So our app, you log onto our app in the palm of your hands, you'll be able to find the gate that you need to be at when you're boarding a flight. Whilst you, and this has happened to me when I was in Japan a month ago, I got in the cab, my Japanese is very poor. I picked up the Expedia app and it translated the address of the hotel I was staying in. So for us, it's all about keeping in touch with the customer and helping them throughout the entire journey.
Great, thank you.
I just want to answer very quickly your
Yeah.
original question. So for Wego, we get a lot of suppliers coming to us, especially national tourism boards. So we're working with Abu Dhabi Tourism right now because they are in a hole in terms of their hotel bookings. They're getting a lot of pressure from hotel groups who are the stakeholders for them. They are now working with us on the last minute booking window because it needs to be booked and consumed by the end of this year. And so we have like 20 million app install users, and we send them very targeted push notifications. So the last minute opportunities, because people are booking last minute, but if you can entice them at a really good price and a deal, they will actually book last minute.
Great.
And I'd also say that even though the last minute business is clearly rising, there's no doubt about it, it's not like the death of long vision bookings, right?
Yeah,
It's not that the whole industry is shifting to 2 or 3 days out. We still have an incredibly healthy business with 30 days plus. And so as both demand generators and suppliers, we've got to make sure we're still focused on the fact there are plenty of long planning bookers still out there, and we can't abandon them.
I'm not going to name the company, but I watched an interview a couple of days ago, and it was in the experience space. It wasn't TripAdvisor, but planning trips. If you've got someone who's creating a trip and it's only being booked out sort of 12 hours out, sort of the logistics of that, and even the cash management, if your whole business is sort of based on such a short booking window, how do you arrange trips and stuff like that?
Can I just jump in really quickly? Unlike my other panelists, I actually worked on the experiences business for over 7 years. I started at Viator. At the time, I think most people know Viator was the first OTA focusing on tours and activities, and we got acquired by TripAdvisor in 2014. And we feel like we've been working in this industry Viator started 25 years ago.
Yeah.
And right now, we're still skimming the surface for tourist activities, so complex. And I just learned something from Wit the other day. There's a thing called human API.
Right.
Someone quoted, especially in this market in Asia Pacific, and most of our audience are tour operators. And human labor is extremely cheap in this region. It's extremely hard to push out API or any sort of systems to get their inventory and get it connected to all the OTA partners.
Right.
We've done an amazing job acquiring a software called Boken. I don't know, most of you might heard about it in last year, which is a software essentially we're pushing out to our suppliers and tour operators that they can get a software in most efficient, most affordable way, that they can save all the human labor and they can focus on their services. But still, in this region, it's only 30% of the suppliers are using a system. It's quite shocking. It's 20 years behind the hotels industry, even way behind the airlines.
Yeah, thank you. So Craig, sort of in terms of the last minute bookings, is that seen as a discounted product? Because if they're trying to offload distressed hotel product, is last minute or late booking seen as distressed?
So it's not, it's got to be value driven, so it's not necessarily cheap,
right.
But as long as you bundle, it's really about bundling good value.
Okay.
And it's about showing the immediacy that you put an offer in front of somebody and they weren't necessarily thinking about traveling there. And we're targeting, for Abu Dhabi, we're targeting people that are within a drive distance. Right. So you can entice them, it's achievable. So it's not cheap, but value.
I get it. And then over to Laura from Google, sort of what sort of insights have you got in terms of sort of search lead times to bookings?
So what we are looking at, especially, or like what our challenge is to show the right info, which is our mission, to show the right information to the right users when they need it. And I think the challenge in travel itself is that the travel cycle or the research, the booking cycle is very short, but like the research cycle which goes there is like very, very long. And this is to what you said at the beginning, because there's so much information out there, and like the consumer constantly feels under-informed. So they want to look at one more hotel, they want to check like another itinerary, they want to check like another website if they might find it cheaper there. And so the big advantage that Google has is that we have the search queries, and depending on the search queries, so basically the questions that the user enters into the search engine, we know where they are in the travel cycle. So if somebody is looking for nice beaches in California, we pretty much know that it would be wrong to show those users a sample of hotels they can book, because he's not at the point yet where he has decided where to go. But in that case, we would show them, I don't know, videos or photos of the different beaches, or then also activities that can be done on those beaches. And I think that's like very important to match the right information with the users in the right time in their travel stage.
So, sorry, this is unprompted. I just read a piece of information on the flight on the way out that in the US a couple of months ago in Google, 50% of searches found the information they needed within Google. So they searched to get insight, and within the search results, the information was presented to them, which meant they didn't need to leave Google. I don't need you to comment on that, but I just found that fascinating. So if you're in a research stage, whether it be non-travel or a different product, you found 50% of your information rendered on the page, so you didn't need to take an action to go away and transact. Sorry, just
So I might be cheeky on that one. I think Google probably didn't make it easy for the person to actually exit Google.
Yeah.
So I think, probably by choice, the person probably didn't have a choice to exit, because it's actually very hard to exit Google, especially in the travel space, because everything that is presented to you is actually Google.
So sorry, yeah.
So I mean, this is, so what we are always, we get this question asked quite often. So I mean, Google pretty much looks the same that it did 20 years ago. So it's still white with like a colorful logo, and then you get like a list of links, and then you can get your answers. But what we've been doing in the background is to try to make those answers more relevant. And this is what we do throughout all the areas. So also, if I type in the symptoms of eye disease, I get like some information about which disease I could have and what I can do. Same thing if I look for information about like a specific place, then I can also get like some curated or like either curated or like information that is accessible to get like a first glance as the answer of the question. If I want to do further research, then the user has to go on the different links and on the different websites to see what's going on. But so the intention is to get the answer to the user quicker by giving like a first glance and aggregating the information. And we're doing this for all kinds of areas.
Okay. Just one other sort of thing I saw on Google is now if you're searching on Google and there's an earthquake, it will bring up that it will give a response to say that this incident is happening close to where you're searching. So that's a really good thing, in fairness to Google. So, okay, as firms go down, next topic is around personalization. And as sort of kind of you go down a much more personalized, data-driven experience, what sort of challenges or insights could you offer the floor? Craig, if I could start with you just around sort of like personalization and use of data.
Yeah, so I think Tim sort of briefly touched on the dangers of personalization, where if you are trying to be too implicit in terms of your personalization, enforcing options on people based on what you think their personas are, because people have multiple personas. I think that's very dangerous, and it's something that Wego's avoided. We funnel all our personalization into our mobile apps, because 88% of our business is now through our apps. On mobile devices, we have a lot more information on the user, so we can offer them a preference center where they can explicitly tell us what they want in terms of how we display our personalization back to them. But we're still in the very early stages of personalization, and we are a data-driven company. We've been in operation now for 15 years. We have a whole pile of data on people, but we do it very sparingly, so we don't sort of get in the way of the consumer actually getting what they want.
Okay.
So very early days.
Yeah, and Demi, with your partners, how do you sort of help them sort of personalise their experience?
So for us, it's all about making sure that they're present on our platform and making sure that whatever hotel we're talking about or an airline, they're able to tap into Expedia's insights.
Right.
We collect, obviously, our insights, all our products are actually developed by the behaviours that we see from our customers. For us, one of our biggest value propositions is we're a technology company, but we're also we're here to connect human beings. Travel is all about connecting people. So for us, from a supply side, is making sure that we provide them all those insights in the palm of their hand through our intranet to make sure that they understand how to obtain that customer.
And I'll build on that. I agree with Demi completely, but it's very interesting to let people know who don't work with OTAs or heavy technology platforms that our product people spend not a lot of time designing and coming up with what the site looks like. They spend a lot of time developing experiments for the consumers to tell us what the site looks like. So if a consumer, someone often asks us, why is that button green, or why have you used that wording, or why have you chosen that sort order, or why is that filtered there or not there? And the answer is because the consumers chose it. We gave options, we ran experiments. We've built, and I'm sure Expedia's the same, and TripAdvisor's the same, Wego's the same, Google's certainly the same. We've built this platform that enables us to show different versions of our site to different customers, and then we just follow the path of which way the customers want to go.
Test the
entire time.
Yeah.
Our CEO famously says we don't change a comma on the site without A/B testing the comma. So the ultimate personalisation in the online travel space is the website, which has been driven and drawn and created through an experimentation culture. And through getting consumers to follow which consumers do more activity on the site, and keep building that.
So I'll pick up on a comment. Demi and I did a call the other week, and I like the thing, this test and learn. Demi was saying that, I said, how do you help your partners? She said, well, we do lots of testing and learning on scale, so we can give smaller partners that opportunity. That's an opportunity using you guys, but if an individual in this room's got a small OTA, how do they focus that testing and learning?
I'll jump in. For us, our philosophy is all about testing and learning, and it's quite simple. We test ideas that our engineers have come from, or the information we receive from our customers, and we learn from that. And we do that in a two-sided marketplace, one for our customers and the other side is for our suppliers. So if everybody knows the Expedia brands, the leisure brands, if it's expedia.co.sg or What If in Australia, we learn from that. And then from a supply side, we provide them with a lot of reporting on what we've actually learned. The other side of our business is what we have is our Expedia Partner Solutions, where if you don't have the scalability that Expedia Group has, we'll be able to come onto our platform. We've learned it, we've tested it, you can actually take full advantage of it. Yeah. So if you're a small hotel wanting to actually build your digital footprint, our Expedia Partner Solutions programs can actually help you build your own sites. We'll provide you with the templates or an API connection to support you building your own sites.
So I completely agree with everyone says here. We've done some research recently for customers. They actually, under certain compliance requirement, they are willing to share the information with the OTAs so they can get more accurate personalization and recommendations for their trip. I think nowadays is an enormous opportunity for all the OTAs here to work together, because everyone tends to focus on their own ecosystem, whether it's TripAdvisor system or Expedia system, but there's so much more out there. And when I don't know whether there will be a day for consolidation, but I feel like this is the opportunity for us to touch all the touch points, maybe hundreds of them, when they're researching for a trip, when they're in destination, or maybe post-trip, that we will be able to paint a more accurate persona of a traveler, then be able to service them better with leveraging all the technology and cool stuff we're doing at each OTA.
Do you find that the personalization is easier when you've got an app-based product versus a desktop or mobile? I mean, if you've got an app user, you've got a contained unit of that user's experiences, their searches? Is it
In
easier to...
destinations, definitely a lot easier when it's in app. And we have revamped our platform, for example, to get all the structured data so that we know exactly for a tour where the departure point is, where the pickup point is, what are the point of interest you are going to experience within this 5 hours tour, and where we end up with, so we can come up with a lot more interesting recommendations post-tour. How about having a dining experience somewhere? And all the hotels, we got data from them. Like if I stay in the Fullerton Hotel in Marina Bay Sands, I know your destination anchor is around this area. So at night, maybe you can recommend night tour along the river. So it's definitely in app is a lot more easier for us to come up with personalized recommendation while you're on the go. But yeah, there's so much more out there.
I mean, the phone transforms so much about travel. The desktop booking, the only way you could communicate with the customer was to send them an email, which is, might as well send them a carrier pigeon and hope they catch it. Whereas now that they've got the phone, we are with them. Not only can we send them more messages, we're with them on the trip. We're part of the whole. We're there, right there, in the office, and so I think it just transformed the ability to talk to, learn from, build on the experience with the customer.
Laura, I think it's pretty obvious personalisation in Google, so I'm not going to sort of include you in that conversation. Other than, have you got any insights you'd like to share before we move on to the next topic?
So, I mean, I can just agree with everything that has been said. So I think personalization, it depends a lot on, again, matching the right customer with the right offer. And this is the easiest to do if you have a lot of data at scale. And I think this is what everybody does here. Like everybody knows, okay, this might be a customer who is interested in or in the past liked to more book luxurious hotels, so it doesn't make sense to show them a 3-star property. So I think this is a lot of information that is important, which enables to customize the user base for the partners. And then on the other side, what has also been said, what we've continuously doing is changing every little thing on the website, like moving it, things around just by millimeters. Nobody will see it. We changed 5 years ago a green button into a blue button, and suddenly the user engagement for some reasons was a lot higher. So those things is something that big companies can do because they have all of the data that they can use for that.
And also, personalization doesn't mean zero choice, right? So we've run experiments. I'll give you a simple insight. If someone types in the name of a hotel, Tim's Hotel in Bangkok, and we give them a landing page that is just Tim's Hotel in Bangkok, they convert less than if we give them a sort order with Tim's Hotel in Bangkok at the top. So even though the consumer has given us the biggest signal they could possibly give, I want Tim's Hotel in Bangkok, if we just give them that, we get less bookings. Yeah. It's quite interesting, right? No. So personalization doesn't mean zero choice. It means trying to find the right mix of personalisation and choice.
And Craig, before we move on, I just remember I worked at lastminute.com, and if the biggest search result was no destination, it was an empty destination, so we would just load loads of deals up. But how do your consumers search destinations? If you, like Tim's point, if you don't put a destination up, do people know a destination they want to go to when they arrive at Wego?
Yes, I mean, it's a really good point. So we've just redesigned our apps about 4 months ago, because we were finding that a percentage of our users didn't actually know where they wanted to go when they were coming to the app. So there was that sort of inspiration discovery. So if you now look at the app, and I invite everyone to download the Wego app if you can, you'll see that we've now got a lot of inspirational. So we do stuff around long weekends coming up. We do destinations that are within a proximity, because everyone's using their mobile device. We tap into long weekends, and we make people aware that there's a long weekend coming up, and then we inspire them with destinations that are within certain price bands. So we do find that it's in our interest to sell destinations first, because not everyone comes to Wego to search for flights and hotels. Yeah,
thank you. And moving on to the next topic, and Tim touched on it. Emerging consumer technologies tend to be driven by the hand devices that we have and the phone producers. So what challenges and where do you see the future of travel distribution as a result of emerging technologies or phone technology? And maybe if I start with Tim, then Demi afterwards.
I mean, the first thing to always imagine is that these technologies never hit us as fast as we think they're going to hit us. You know, I was working in London for Expedia in 2000 when the wireless application protocol was launched. It was the first version of mobile phone bookings. And everybody lost their mind. Joint ventures were formed, people went crazy for it. And of course, mobile bookings didn't really kick off until 2010 or 11, so 10 or 11 years later. So we'd always have to take a little deep breath and make sure we're on top of things and stick to the basics. A desktop is still a really great place to sell travel. So let's not go crazy. But there are other the biggest emerging technology, of course, at the moment is actually behind the scenes, which is machine learning. I don't like the word AI because that implies some sort of talking robots. I'm talking about machines that can run experiments, machines that can make machines that can get better and faster and smarter. And so that's the biggest emerging technology. And you know, data scientists are the new rock stars. They're the gods of the online travel agency. And we spend all of our time staring blankly at data scientists, thinking that they were doing something right, but I have no idea what they're talking about. And if you haven't got a data scientist in your company, find somebody in an outsourced environment who has a data scientist. You need to have data scientists on the payroll. They are, yeah.
I was chatting to a sales director yesterday who went back to university to learn about data science so he could understand his data scientists to sell what they're talking to him about. He just said it, he had to go back to educate himself so he could sell and be the bridge between businesses and his data scientists to be able to help his customers.
So the hype around, again, I don't like the word AI is staggering, but the reality of machine learning is there, and it's true. And you need to have some sort of system in place, in-house or out-house, that has you access to machine learning and data scientists.
Great, thank you. Demi?
Thank you. For us, I'm going to go back to our test and learn philosophy. For us, at the moment, we are testing voice, and we're actively testing voice, but I'm in Asia, and it's all about chat here. So for us, chatbot to communicate efficiently more with our customers and chatbots to communicate with our suppliers, you know, we're taking a big interest in that. So for us, it's voice, it's chat, but I'm going to go back to the human touch again because any technology, it's all about making sure we connect people and we connect the right supplier to the right customer. So it's all about understanding people and building technologies to either scale those conversations and have intelligent conversations with our customers and our suppliers. But I'll close it there.
Okay.
So it's all test and learn, voice, chatbot.
But I get the human connection. You don't want to lose the human connection.
For us, it's extremely important.
So sort of as voice search becomes more sort of prevalent with consumers, where do we see that kind of going, and what will it mean for brands in the future? So I mean, Google's product, sort of, I mean, where does voice search play? And I'd like, yeah.
Yeah, so we see that voice search increases heavily over the last maybe 2 years. And also the technology we offer around voice search gets better and better based on machine learning as well. So not only Google, but also our partners where we work with. And that obviously also drives users using more and more voice search. So it's a big thing for us. It's generally a big thing, but also in travel. So we do a lot of experiments right now with the assistant, where we, for example, work with a couple of airlines on how to do a check-in just using voice, like without actually looking at the phone, just checking in for the flight. And then also we are doing some experiments in the hotel area where we are trying to, just by using voice, booking a hotel or like getting a list of hotels that hotel offers that could be a good fit for the destination a user wants to go at a certain point with the cheapest price. So what you can do via voice and the booking itself still has to be done via hand, yeah. But a lot of the research before can be done via voice, which makes it a lot easier, not only more comfortable or a lot easier to handle or more convenient, but also especially we see especially in like areas where the literacy rate isn't that high, where people can talk but can't write that well, it actually helps a lot. Yeah, it's definitely a big thing. It's just like there are a lot of experiments around technology, but it's getting more and more feasible. And if you think about it, like sometimes it sounds weird to like book a hotel just by talking, but in the end it's the same thing like I don't know, my parents would be doing like 20 years ago, because they like I used to call the agency, and in the end it's like not very different, just that like there is an automated voice answering.
So Craig, sorry if this is more of a difficult question, but if you start to market you're with voice search, you're marketing to a machine. So as a brand, if someone comes on and says, look, I want a weekend break to Singapore, how do you sort of see that affects your brand? Because it could be Wego, it could be Expedia, it could be whoever. It becomes sort of, how do you combat search, voice search?
So I think there's a danger for intermediaries, because if Siri or Google Assistant is the device, no one's going to say, can you search on Wego to find me the cheapest hotel? They're just going to say, Google, find me the cheapest hotel. So I think the reality of it is a concern. Thankfully, going back to Tim's view, this sort of technology always takes a long time for adoption. And hopefully by then, I don't need to be sitting here in 5 years' time because I've exited. So.
You're saying that's somebody else's problem.
Yeah, hopefully.
So on that theme, I was going to say, look, voice is coming. When do we think it would, if we're predicting out to this audience, when the tipping point will be, when voice will be the primary search channel, or everybody will using voice? When do we think that'll be? It's a bit like when are people going to adopt mobiles and that question where we would ask.
So if you extrapolate what Tim said, 2002, the wireless devices for mobile, it took 8 years then for, the adoption of smartphones. But I also think the suppliers will need to enable their data to be structured in a way that can be indexed for voice. And obviously the outline technology needs to change. And then people feeling comfortable speaking to a machine to make their recommendation, because there's a sort of a change that needs to happen in terms of a mindset. I think the generation alpha, which are the people between 9 and 23, I think those are the people who will probably get it. But I'd say it's probably going to be 5 to 7 years away.
But I still think we're going to have a long period in which voice works alongside something, because I can't envisage how voice can help me book a hotel in Bangkok if I don't know what hotel I want to stay at. Can you imagine saying, Google, Siri, Cortana, Alexa, hotels in Bangkok, please? And she starts at the top of the sort order and reads the names of 4,000 hotels and their prices. That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
That's an extreme example. But even if Siri came back, or Google or Cortana or what, it came back with only one hotel, I still wouldn't be happy. Back to my original point. Even if I say, Google, what's the price at Tim's hotel in Bangkok? Our evidence shows us that we need to show more than one result. So there's going to have to be some sort of combination of the voice and a device. And the moment that device is the phone, right?
So I think the adoption will be, if Tim stays in the same hotel every week or every month, and it's just religiously book me that same hotel. That works.
But that's a very small number of people, right? And even the people who travel regularly, which I come to Singapore regularly, there are 3 hotels I like to stay at in Singapore, right? Just because where I am, and like if I'm coming to an event here, I like to stay at one particular hotel. If I'm going to my office, it's a separate hotel. So I think even in those circumstances, there's got to be some visual element for now, for at least the next 10 years. And the phone is what that is. Maybe it becomes the watch, maybe it becomes the glasses at some point. But there's going to have to be another piece of visual technology for voice to be completely ubiquitous.
So is that the thing I always sort of look back at is when you went from desktop to mobile, the reduction in real estate. You still need some real estate on-page interaction to help. Yeah. So whether it be the glasses, even though I'm not convinced on the WhatsApp glasses.
I'm not convinced about glasses either, but I am convinced that for voice to become ubiquitous, we still need something visual.
I think once we move from command-based instructions to Siri, so Siri, can you find me a hotel in Bangkok? And then our technology evolves to actually having conversations and involving the technology, so the bot plus the the human beings, our agents. That's where I think the adoption would actually start to increase. At the moment, as I mentioned, Expedia is on testing voice, where we're at the stage where it's command-based. Can you find me a hotel in A? Can you find me the cheapest flight from going A to B? Our technology is evolving very fast, where we're moving towards our bots having been able to have conversations with both our customers and our suppliers. So once we get to that stage, I feel like that adoption will start. That'll be the tipping point.
Okay.
And I believe when we're here. We're already here.
Yeah.
In parts of the world, in our platform, we already have bots in Japan helping our customers. In our US point of sale, we have that as well. So it's only a matter of time, I think, very, very quickly, where the technology will evolve enough to be able to have conversations and be able to have efficient conversations. Be the two-sided marketplace, be the customer or be with the supplier.
And that's a nice bridge to the next question. And sort of not naivety on my behalf, but coming here this week, the adoption of super apps, and that's a concept that doesn't exist in Europe. We talked about the evolution of when mobile was going to hit, but I'm going to take back and evangelise to everybody about super apps. And Baddy, maybe you could sort of how super apps. I won't touch on 5G. I was going to come on to 5G, but I think super apps is how do you sort of distribute yourself via super apps?
I mean, I think the audience here are mainly APAC, either consumers or industry folks, that super apps close to our heart. Well, it took me a long time to explain to my management from the US what super app is, why it's so important and so dominant in this market. My point of view is it's really going back to the consumers, what they're looking for, what their shopping behavior is, what their whole lifestyle and within the system, what that looks like. And it will be some form or shape which is fitting into their daily shopping or pattern. It doesn't have to be a super app. It could be something else. It really depends on what they're looking for. That's just my personal view. And also without all this new tech stack, because a lot of OTAs are formed many years ago, 20 years ago, and their tech stack is very old, and it's not going to be fast enough or scalable enough to support all this. So there's a lot of stuff we're doing behind the scenes at TripAdvisor Experiences. For example, we in the last 3 years, we completely revamped our platform for our suppliers so they can do business a lot more efficient and in a much more flexible way, so that the infrastructure is built, the structured data is there, so we'll be able to create the front-end interface however it's suitable for the customer's need. Yeah. But app is definitely something we are actually looking at. Not sure about super app.
Right.
So the super app sort of story is they say we're going to use frequency as a marketing channel, right? Yeah. So WeChat says you use us all the time for chatting. That's our marketing channel. So we're going to draw you in with frequency. And Grab says you need us to get a cab twice a day or 3 times a day. We're going to use that for frequency. And I get frequency as a marketing channel, but it doesn't mean that you can sell any product you like to people. And because we've seen a little bit of this story before. I remember, I'm old enough, and a lot of people in this room look old enough as well, to remember when Yahoo and AOL and MSN promised us they would be the home for everything on the internet, right? You don't have to go anywhere because there's Yahoo Movies, there's Yahoo Travel, there's Yahoo Finance, there's Yahoo, whatever. You just need to go to Yahoo. And the portal play is not that different conceptually to the super app play,
Correct.
right? And the portal play got defeated because individual experts in a category, i.e. travel, could beat Yahoo Travel.
Correct.
Because they could never be as good at it as the individual expert could be. Now this is different, I agree, because we're talking about a high frequency product with stickiness. They've got logins, they've got payment platforms and so forth. But still, to execute in something like travel, you need 1,000 engineers working their guts out non-stop. So I wonder whether or not the super app strategy will meet the same fate as the portal strategy. And end up having to retreat to their basic core of doing frequency products. But it's a fascinating area.
And talking about channels, and sorry, Craig. So Focusrite yesterday was sort of, research was implying that sort of kind of social as a commercial driver continues to go from strength to strength, and sort of whether you would transact within Instagram. What's your views? You would use sort of Instagram or Facebook as a commercial acquisition channel outside of Google. Would you see that you would
there'll be a transaction at some point within Instagram?
So a big part of our business is Middle East, and Middle East travelers get all their inspiration on Instagram and Facebook. I think if you were able to find a way where you could make the booking from Instagram into your platform seamless, I think there's a percentage of people that would book through Instagram. I think we're a long ways off from doing that, but I think people would be stimulated from a visual search and be able to sort of be inspired from that. We're sort of paying close attention to that because we want to be at the forefront of that.
Great. Anybody else got a view on social transactions?
Social is search in China. I mean, let's be clear about that. There is no, as much as Baidu is often quoted as being the Google of China, it's not really a search engine, and search is not the story in China that it is outside of China. And social has taken on that place, be it WeChat social, be it TikTok, be it the short video services now. I mean, the infomercial is alive and well in China in the form of short video. And it's just taken a whole new platform environment. So social is search in China. And that doesn't mean will it come out to other parts of the world, or possibly, but in China it is a massive channel.
Good. Thank you, Tim. So next point, again, just sort of my experiences coming in Singapore. The experience market seems to be sort of a very active market. And Buddy, I was just going to get your views on why people should be tapping into that, why it's offering an extended experience, and then maybe Demi afterwards, if that's okay.
Absolutely. I'm glad finally it's our time, it's our era. I've been waiting for a long time for this day, and everyone's so interested in this space. There's so much money pouring into this space. We have a lot of well-funded regional OTAs and global OTAs as well, focusing on tourism activities. It is still, I feel like it's in 25 years, we're still at the beginning. We're still skimming the surface. There's still so much more out there. We're trying to, explore and onboard and push out to all customers. Right now, with our new platform, we have over 250,000 experiences globally. Asia alone is over 100,000. It's massive. Now, going back to our early discussion, we have so much product, content, recommendations out there. How can we push out to the right consumers and really get a two-way dialogue? What are consumers looking for? Is this something you're looking for, or something we can tweak to make it better, more engaging, more suitable for your travel plan? For example, we're providing a lot of data for our suppliers so they can fine-tune their products, right? Singapore as a MICE city, people don't have a lot of time. They don't have 7 hours travel, do a city tour in Singapore. They might only have 2 hours a night. They want to have a night experience. Yeah. Maybe like a hawker center tour, maybe just going to some of the residential neighborhood, experience what Singaporeans live like. That kind of stuff we will give back to our suppliers so they can make it even more interesting and more engaging, more interactive for our customers. Well, the other categories we're looking at, right? Besides, of course, day trips and day tours, still something we are seeing bring us most of our revenue, but we're not discounting other categories like the cultural tours, more immersive tours, experiential travels. Some of the categories we haven't thought about is important before, but we're seeing people need it, like some of the as a facilitator, right? Some of the travel passes.
But that's extending their travel experience.
Correct. Just really close the loop and give them the holistic view of what my journey will look like, and I will enjoy everything I can get in this particular destination with all this seamless experience. Whenever I'm booking it or I'm in destination, I can have the best experience ever. So
for you three, do you see that's an extension to the service you need to provide to your customers? So you're booking the flight, the hotel, the whole experience, the end-to-end stuff.
Yeah, so for us, we've got 35,000 experiences that our customers can come onto the site and actually book. We found experiences is almost like an afterthought. That's what our research indicates. Once we are actually able to once you actually book your hotel or your airline and you're in the destination, what we've done to encourage people to broaden their experiences is on our app, you're able to actually book the tour to wherever you are whilst you're in the destination. We found that was people were more willing to take that up than pre-trip. So I've got my hotel, I've got my accommodation, I am in Singapore, what's there for me to do in Singapore? Within our app, we've produced destination guides and we're also enabled our customers to be able to book that tour in Singapore that they were looking for. So for us, that's been a big learning, and within our products, it actually reflects that.
Well, for us, it's not really an afterthought, because what we learned, what we research on is what make people really excited about traveling, a vacation, is the things to do, the things they will experience, the people they will meet, the food that they will take. It's definitely on the top of people's mind. But how can we make sure people can discover what they're looking for?
All of those opportunities.
That's our job, exactly. That's all the data scientists behind the scenes to make it happen. And we work with a lot of operators. I see a lot of familiar faces out here to make it in destination ready, make the product in destination ready, because historically it's insane for us to talk to some operators saying like, oh, do you want to make your product refundable outside 24 hours? They were like, no, crazy idea, right? Like, we have my overhead, have my guide and driver waiting outside. They booked their day just for you. How can you do that? But we will be able to provide them data saying, okay, if you make it flexible and give people a peace of mind, I booked something, I can regret and I can change to something else, which is more suitable for me. Perhaps that's a better experience for the consumer and for the people who really like to book your tour, and perhaps that's a better way to lift your conversion, so you can sell more, offset the potential overhead. So there's a lot more education on our end and working closely with our partners here to make it more in destination ready, more mobile friendly, and make it really top of mind when people go on vacation, rather than 2 hours, what should I do? Book something.
This is definitely the iPhone year for tours and activities, back to our theme. You know, the first online air booking was probably 1996, something like that, 95, 96. And the first $1 billion online travel deal was 1999, when Travelocity, which now owns by these guys, bought Preview Travel, which no one in this room has probably heard of, but it was the first $1 billion deal. The first real deal in tours and activities was Viator being bought for $200 million in 2015, 14, 15.
It was a good deal, right?
It was a good deal. But like,
Nowadays.
so tours and activities were being booked as early as 1996, but the first big deal was a $200 million deal in 2015. But in the last 2 years, $1.2 billion has been raised in that sector. So it took 20 years for tours and activities, which is okay, that's fine. But now we are in $1 billion deal territory in tours and activities. Okay. And so that's a huge sign that this is the time for tours and activities online.
Great, thank you. So that was a really nice bridge, unintentionally. So next area is areas of insights, and I'm going to hand over to Craig. Craig, last year you transacted $1 billion. So how do you build? And I know some of our colleagues on this panel are transacting that, so I don't want to sort of knock their achievements, but from start to sort of to where you are now, how do you build $1 billion transaction business? Your story in an elevator pitch, please.
Give it the short pitch. I mean, $1 billion in terms of gross booking value for Wego is a really big deal. Obviously, Google does that in a month. But this almost 2012, you know, Wego was against the ropes. We're getting beaten up by, I guess, the cost of acquiring new users. So it's a thing called unit economics. So, you know, I think everyone in Southeast Asia at that time, there was a whole bunch of startups from within the region. There were global players coming into the market, spending a lot of money on sort of paid search. We couldn't survive in terms of paying for new users and then trying to monetize them. So we were losing money. We couldn't raise money because of the fact that our investors didn't want us to take money from them and then give it back to Google in terms of paid search. So thankfully, you know, every successful business has a tipping point. I think part of that is luck and then execution. So we had launched a whole raft of international versions of Wego. Thankfully, we launched one in Arabic, which, you know, we didn't even think about at the time. And then we retooled our apps into Arabic as well. I mean, rolled them out onto the app stores. And within sort of a month, we saw these sort of early adopters talking about it. We got mentioned in all this sort of influencer activity. So it wasn't by design. We weren't part of it. But everyone in the Middle East started talking about this Wego app. Within a month, we saw the charts go sort of almost vertical. Now this where, that was the luck. And then the execution part, which also takes, some big gonads, because we were told by our board that we only had a very short runway of cash. So it was a little bit like going to the casino with red and, onto the blackjack table and go, okay, here's our last $100,000. We're going to put it on red, or we're going to put it on black, which we did. And we doubled down in Middle East. We ended up launching an office there in 2013. We started building brand. Fast forward to today, we now have 83% of our traffic unpaid. So thankfully, we don't have to rely on paid search or paid channels. We pivoted very quickly to become a mobile-first business. We now have 88% of our users interact with us on the mobile device. We're now incredibly profitable, which I wouldn't have thought that I would be sitting here, 8 years later. We're now building very heavily into our brand, so we do a whole bunch of TV ads across the Middle East, outdoor media. We do in sort of interactions with people at sort of live events. So we've immersed the Wego brand outside of the paid channels, and I think as a brand, you got to become reliant, less reliant on paid channels, and build something that's sustainable and people have a relationship with you because of your brand. So I think the big thing for us was Middle East, not becoming reliant on Google, building brand and being self-sustainable for ourselves.
Great, thank you. Demi, just sort of getting your view. So you've worked with many partners across the travel vertical in Asia. What are their sort of demands, their current needs? What are the things are they coming to you saying, I need this problem solving at the moment?
Oh,
Sorry.
good question. I think it's just being there for them. I think it's, for us, we have a marketplace, and being there for them on how to actually obtain a customer that they need. So for us, is being able to provide them the right reporting and be able to provide them with the right reporting in the sense of on the fingertips. So for us is report on how to get more customers through your hotel, or how to get more transactions if you're an airline, and the right transactions, I should add. So being able to service them with that information, or empower them with that information, in order for them to be able to make intellectual decisions of running their hotel or running their airline.
So data and management information still light with your partners?
Yeah, so we've invested quite heavily on making sure that our partners have got the right reporting in front of them. Instead of, in the past, we used to provide them with a report that we sent out via email. Now we've actually built an entire system, and I use the word platform again, where they can go in and they could literally go in and find out what's the average booking window that that I need to attract more Australian customers. How are Australian customers actually booking, and how can I get my piece of the Australian market? How can I get my piece of the US market? And we're able to provide that information to them to be able to make some good decisions.
Great, thank you. So we're starting to get close on time. Tim, I told you we would be all right. So just sort of some closing thoughts. Laura, just like to see sort of what insights or predictions, what should people be looking at? What are things you would say people should be looking at in the future? What's on the horizon when you talk Google travel?
So I think something that is like happening already in the whole industry is that probably users are looking for like a more immersive experience. So maybe not like as a form of a super app, but having all of the things in one place they need for traveling. So having flights, having experiences, having hotels, having guides where there's nothing to book, all in one place. So they have like this one-stop shop where they have like a lot of trust in that brand as well. So I think this is something we are seeing, this is happening, and I think this is also quite important for the user in the future.
Okay, Paddy?
I think personally, I think is some technology around localization. We all want to travel borderlessly. We want to form this common understanding without having the language, the cultural difference in the middle. We want to have the technology be able to have us, give us a more immersive experience locally. So I think any technology around that will be very beneficial for everybody in this industry.
So we're getting close to time, and I want to open some questions up to the floor, but I wanted to pick Tim up on something yesterday. So Tim defended or was debating, would machine win over humans in 10 years' time? And Tim was voting for yes, but I wanted to go around the panel. Will humans win over machines? What are people's views in the next 10 years? So you start, because you were the guy that...
Well, I suppose that the hybrid answer is that data is the new gold. Data is the new oil. I think it was, I was quoting Timothy O'Neill Dunn, data is the new oil. And that requires machines, but it requires data scientists. So data scientists are going to win. They're going to take us over.
Okay. Demi?
For us, it's humans power machines. So if humans are powering machines, I'm going to let the audience decide what my answer is.
Okay. Craig?
So yeah, we've just beefed up our data science team. So to Tim's point, you know, our data is our new gold, but we need people to actually help management understand the data.
Okay. I mean, Google, which is a very advanced technology business.
So I'm very much with Tim. So I think it needs a lot of data, and data needs a lot of machine power, and like there need to be humans that need to see what's happening there.
Great. Patty?
Our entire business is built on travel community. So for us, it's definitely human trump everything.
Yeah.
We have blood and we have heart, which is pumping.
Good. Okay, good. We've got a few minutes, and we've got questions from the floor. A couple of hands up. We've got some mics, please. You're going to have to shout, sadly. Oh. So sort of a voice is a combination of biometrics. There's more to voice. There's more attributes to it. So it's not just standalone voice. Are you taking more sort of biometrics to the support? Anybody? I mean, I guess Google would be possibly closest to that, or not?
No, I don't think so. So, I mean, voice is a technology that brings search a step forward. If it's like the same, if it should be looked at with the same way, like we look at face recognition and gesture recognition, I wouldn't say so.
I spent a bit of time on the hospitality tech side, where the PMS innovators are trying to do a lot of work in biometrics through image recognition and facilitating online check-in. I know there's a lot of kiosks emerging now in China that do facial recognition to speed up online check-in. So I think biometrics should hopefully one day make checking into a hotel an easier experience, which I think is one of the unsolved problems in travel.
I remember Barry Diller saying mobile was the last sort of railroad into town. It's not. You've then gone voice. You've then go biometrics. And Barry Diller was a very visionary man, and it just shows you there's still more to become.
And I think it was one of the airports, one of the airport trials going on about whether you could do, passport control without seeing a passport. Can we do biometrics where people just walk through the gate and everything is already automatically scanned? So there is super exciting going on in, I think, biometrics at the airport level and hotel level.
Great. We've got probably chance for one more question. If anybody's got a question. Oh, I'm getting the sign that we're up, actually. But look, just like to thank everybody for their time on the panel, and also you for joining us today. But thank you, everybody.